Hey everybody, welcome to the Modified. This is a little different. Uh, this is a request to people on the left, to friends of mine on the left, and it's this is some really weird stuff, and I want you not to be so quick to dismiss it. You can't let our hatred of Trump, let your hatred of Trump blind you to other problems. So I need you to. I'm always saying I'm not a Trump fan, you know that. I'm about the rule of law. Has to be that way because power corrupts. We know that. We've known that historically for a long time. So I think what I want to do is I'm going to put a link to the article from The Hill in the description, so you can read this article. Okay. People have been responding feverishly to it. People on the left seeking to dismiss it. But here's the deal. People have to be answerable. Government officials have to be answerable. If they're not, we're just an aristocracy ruling a bunch of serfs and peasants with a different set of rules for each set, and that's just unacceptable. I said it during the Clinton email thing. Whether or not she intended to do it, somebody else it wasn't her who had done that without intending would nonetheless have been prosecuted and face charges. All my friends on the left repeatedly have said, doesn't matter what side of the aisle corruption is on, it's got to be dealt with, right? But then they're willing to turn a blind eye to corruption when it turns out, instead of being desirous to root it out at all costs, which is supposed to be the media's job. I understand that. But this power base has become so broad and so intrusive and so connected that I don't think we can count on that anymore unless we demand it, because we're consumers of what the media produces. So I'm asking you to consider this, okay? Mueller's going to hand his indictment down, probably a Manafort on Monday in the investigation. Now, never mind that the dossier is now completely tarnished, okay, because it appears to have been a product of Steele and Fusion GPS after the Democrats had taken over payment of Fusion GPS for their Oppo research, okay, which is a weird thing. So they were freaking out, and this is the weird thing, is you got all these pundits going, oh, and you know, the first response on the left is, well, everyone does Oppo research. Okay, that's fine. But about 3 months ago, these same people were saying that Trump's son meeting in a hotel in the Trump Tower or whatever with that Russian lawyer was like treasonous because it was getting Oppo research from a foreign agent or something. Well, you can't have it both ways. I mean, if you paid Richard Steele, a foreign agent, former British Secret Service guy, for the information, well, okay, now either it's just Oppo research or it's not. Now there's FEC rules and stuff. I'm not sure about all the legalities of it, but what I'm talking about here, as usual, is the response. Okay, and these people seem to forget that we have recordings of you saying 3 months ago, this is treason, and now you're saying the same thing isn't. This is the double standard. This is the great problem, and this is what we all have to attack, okay? Because if these people are above us, whatever party they're in, okay, if they're above us in terms of the law and the consequences of the law, then we are broken to a degree beyond compare. Now, I know, okay, that if you have more money, you can pay for better lawyers, you can get different justice. That's a problem that should always be addressed. We should always be looking to improve that. It's going to be messy, as I've said many times. Freedom and capitalism, it's messy, especially when it comes to issues of legality and justice, okay? But that's why you create a disinterested body. The judiciary is supposed to be completely disinterested and not political in order to make sure that you can continue to strive after that and you can appeal up, okay? Now, this article that I'm putting a link to is extremely relevant and extremely important, okay? Now, you can suggest that the claims in it are false or that it doesn't mean anything or there's nothing, that's fine. But there's enough smoking guns here. Maybe there's no fire, but there's enough to show a significant possibility of a conflict of interest, okay? Sessions recuses himself, and you see people on the right recuse themselves when things go south, okay? Or when it looks like there's any appearance, because that's what you have to fight, is the appearance of impropriety, is what you have to make sure, because you want to make sure that there's no doubt in the people, But increasingly what we're getting is doubt in our system, because as it turns out, evidently during the Obama administration, the FBI investigated, had strong suggestions of Russians paying off money that would make its way to the Clinton Foundation during Hillary Clinton's tenure as Secretary of State, at a time when she was on a committee which approved a sale of 20% of United States uranium to Russia. Okay. Now, people say, oh, this is an old story, or there's no statute of limitations on this stuff. There's not. Okay. And if it's criminal, it has to be prosecuted. We have to follow up. We need answers. Okay. Not because we're partisan, but because we're a nation of laws. Okay. And if those laws were broken, we have to know about it, and people have to answer for it. That's how the system works. Okay. If you don't have that, we're in deep trouble. Okay. So, as you'll see, though, it goes further than that, because the FBI, during the time of the investigation, at least part of it, was run by Robert Mueller, who was apparently, because the FBI's studies were not revealed to people, you'll see in the article, the things they were finding about extortion and bribery and connections were not revealed. There was an FBI informant who went deep undercover in the Russian uranium business and says he was directly a part of or heard conversations about influencing the Clintons or seeking to curry influence with the Clintons within the Russian uranium industry. Okay, and he was silenced. He was told not to speak. He was legally barred from speaking by the Obama administration. Okay, that ban has been lifted, and he will be allowed to speak. Watch how they do this. If the partisans start to go, well, we want a meeting with him with just the Democrats, and watch how they'll try to spin it. Okay, because the bottom line is we need to hear from this guy, and we need to hear the truth, regardless of your party. Okay, you cannot. We are combined because we're a nation of laws, not because we're a nation of Democrats or Republicans. Right? Those are our differences, okay? And those are ways that we manage things, okay? And ones that are becoming increasingly problematic, all right? But you'll see, it looks like there are people in the Republican Party that were involved in this as well. Some of Trump's most vocal critics, okay, may have been involved in some of this money coming back. I got a feeling that these guys have been doing things they shouldn't have been doing for a long time. And what Trump represents is somebody who's not beholden to them, an outsider. And I think, at the very least, the other person involved, obviously, in this FBI potential cover-up was Comey himself, who was FBI director during it as well. And Rod Rosenstein, okay, and McCabe. So all of the people involved, okay, were at least nominally in charge and running things at the time that this major investigation into uranium distribution, or the uranium resources of the United States, and its availability to Russians and Russia's hand in it, okay, was going on. At the very, again, and you don't have to believe, you can say, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, but you read this article and tell me if there's not enough evidence to suggest that we need a whole new set of people doing these investigations. Because this thing is incestuous. I mean, these people just move people around to keep control of stuff. You can see it. And even if they're not, look, even if you're saying, oh, Mark, you're just paranoid. Okay, look, even if they're not, then they should have no problem with you going, you know what, we'd just all be more comfortable if someone else took this, okay? And it would be better for everyone if we just did it. If we had someone else come in who's completely disinterested and checked all this out. No offense, but hey, we need to do this on the up and up. That's the way adults handle it, okay? And children, again, point the fingers at one another and try to blame and redirect. Now they're saying this is all old news, right? It goes to everything. Saul Alinsky playbook, yeah? Accuse your enemy of what you're doing, loudly and vocally. Deny, deny, deny. I mean, it's the classic stuff. And again, I'm not saying this is some kind of crazy right-wing conservative nut job, all right? I'm asking you to look objectively, because if this were on the right, I can swear to you, I would be all over it. And anybody who knows me knows that I would, okay? Because we have to be a nation of laws, not of people, of men, and that is to say people, aristocrats, nobility, that kind of thing, who are above it. And so if you are going to let your partisan hatred of Trump override your desire to see the truth of this come out, Okay? And if you think they're innocent, then you should have no problem with a full investigation of it. Okay? And you should want it, because what you want is the certainty that you've backed people of integrity who haven't done these things. You should desire that. So you should hold them accountable and go, look, how do you explain all of this? Because I've backed you, and I wanted you, and I'm on your side. But if you can't assure me that this is what's going on, don't point your finger and scream at the other guys. Turn at your own people and say, how do we account for this? How do we explain it? Okay? And when they throw things at you like, oh, it's old or this or that, make sure you can spot logical fallacies and ask hard questions, okay? And then ask, well, okay, well, why don't we just let someone else do it then? Because it is messy, right? So you say to them, you have to admit it's messy, and it's going to look bad. So no matter what comes out of it, it's going to look bad. And even if we were to try and get Trump on something, we were going to get Trump on something. If we've got all this stuff hanging over our head, that doesn't help. So we have to do this right, because we're a nation of laws, all right? And so maybe there was nothing untoward about it. Maybe it wasn't. I mean, I don't know how you could make a case that there wasn't. I mean, that this money transfers hands right at the time this big decision comes down. I mean, come on. Again, even in the case, either with Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State, you either don't accept the money at the Clinton Foundation or you take yourself off the committee. I mean, that's just what you have to do. I mean, in order for it, again, to be up and up, this is just common sense stuff, right? So I'm asking you dispassionately, okay, as somebody, and I know certainly all my friends are people who are committed to truth and they want to pursue the truth. Okay, I'm asking you to read this article that I'm going to put in the link below, and I'm going to post this Monday morning, so some things may have changed in the news. Mueller's indictment of Manafort's coming down right at the time when this thing drops. I mean, they've all got an interest in stopping any sort of investigation, okay? But why? If they didn't do anything wrong, why do they have an interest in stopping the investigation? Right? And they'll do the taxpayer dollar thing and all that. But the reality is, if you do the right thing, you don't worry. Let them dig what they can. Oh, but they can spin this or that. Yeah, but the truth will come out, okay? And that's what they're afraid of. And I mean politicians on both sides. They're afraid the truth's coming out. And right now, we're being played for chumps by both sides, okay, who are flinging stuff out. Hey, look at this shiny thing, and oh, but look at that, and just finger pointing. It's the high school lunchroom, again, all over again. High School USA. And somewhere there got to be adults who break this thing up and go, okay, everybody sit down and shut up. Someone from the outside is going to come in and look at this and figure out what happened. Because you two are all way too involved in this. Way too involved in this dispute. Demand justice. Not victory. Okay? We adhere to the law. And if the FBI, and this is the problem, I mean, if the FBI was used by an administration to cover up this stuff, this is massive, okay? And you don't need me to tell you, for all of you on the left, you loved Obama, he was a great speaker, but look what he did. Right? There's no question that the IRS targeted conservative groups. That's wrong. Fast and Furious. They lied about Benghazi. Obama lied about healthcare. He did. You can't argue with it. His own guy said they knew you couldn't keep your own healthcare plan. But Obama went out and said it. He lied knowingly. Okay? Now look, he can do that. But to do it without consequences, and to do it and still be lauded as this amazing, great guy, if you need to lie to me to sell me something, maybe you shouldn't be selling me that. And it sure as heck suggests that you can't trust me with the truth, that you don't think I can handle the truth or that I can understand it, or that you're so right that it doesn't matter whether or not I know the truth. And all of those things are not what you want in a president who's supposed to think of himself as a servant and an equal, as just another citizen. So these things are major problems, okay? If the legal system, judiciary, and the executive justice system is messed up like that, and all of the people who were involved in this stuff in the past are the ones in charge of uncovering what happened, it needs a whole clean house. This is the drain the swamp thing. Again, I'm not a Trump guy, but man, and again, it's not that they're evil people, I don't think. Some of them I think are completely selfish and opportunists, and they exploit people to get what they want. I think a lot of them are just people at a job, and you just kind of do things because nobody's looking, oh, that's okay, right? That's fine. And then only after the fact, when someone goes, wait, what happened here? You go, what? Because you weren't paying enough attention. You weren't paying enough attention to what you were doing and going, this doesn't look right. If we're going to sit down and have this meeting, I better check and see if any of these Russians have made donations to the Clinton Foundation. Because if they have, I got to step down. Because that's just not going to look right, no matter what I do. But when you don't care how it looks, it suggests that you believe yourself impervious, that you can do what you want and spin it, and people will just go with it. We can't be those people. This whole thing depends on us governing, not them. So please, have a look at the link to the article in the description. And remember, we got one thing we need to be focused on. That's doing right, not being right. Okay? So be open. And remember that if you are critical of what's found in the article, if you agree with any of it, doesn't mean you like Trump or you're supporting Trump. That's them setting up this false dichotomy, this false opposition of, well, if you're not with us, you're against us, that crap. Okay? No, I'm with the truth. I'm with people doing right. Maybe the Trump investigation will lead to something, but I can't even be sure if that will happen because the guys involved in it all have some fishy stuff around them that needs to be investigated. So we got to get this right, okay? Because look, you might be trying to beat him, okay? But I'm trying to get at the truth. So if your desire to beat him is going to take over and cause you not to be able to see or accept or present me with the truth, well, then I have to replace you with someone who will. It's just that simple. And it's our obligation and our duty to do that. But it's getting messy. And they're going to come with a fury of stuff to make you think it's nothing. Don't pay attention to the little man behind the curtain. Or flip that, you know what I mean. Don't let them tell you, don't pay attention to the little man behind the curtain. No, wait a sec. What the hell's the little man doing back there? The Wizard of Oz is not the great and powerful Oz. The whole thing's a lie. So, again, not a huge conspiracy, but just people who are scared and trying to cover their butts for something that some of them intentionally, others unwittingly, they shouldn't have done. Because they didn't figure that they were going to get caught. Or they didn't know it was that bad. But if we don't hold them to that, if we don't bring in people who are not beholden and who will go, okay, look, everybody sit down and shut up. We're going to get to the bottom of this, and everyone's going to answer for what they did. Okay? If we don't do that, well, then we're an aristocracy, or we're governed by aristocrats, which many would say is already the case. But the responsibility of it isn't on any of them. It's on us for putting our heads under the yoke, for allowing ourselves just to go along with it. See, as a libertarian kind of guy, I'm skeptical of power, always. Parties tend to say be skeptical of power whenever the other group's in power, and then they expect you to not be skeptical of them as they take more power, whether it's Bush administration or the Obama administration or whatever. Yeah, I'm skeptical of power all the time because it corrupts, and because I remember the flawed fundamental nature of humankind, that we fall and we get scared and we do selfish things, and power corrupts. We've known this. So you can never not be skeptical of power, whether it's the winning side or the losing side in the political debate. So don't sit here and say, well, I have to be skeptical of Trump, so I can't be skeptical of the Democratic Party. You have to be. You have to be. Because they were in power at the time. And in the Game of Thrones, you all watch it, the stuff that the people at the top are doing to one another, and the things they're willing to do to keep and get power, okay? If you watch Game of Thrones, you know no one of those powers is really any better than the others. Okay, they're all scrambling for scraps and little bits and pieces to bury one another and backstabbing and talking. That's how it works. None of them are moral. One of the things I hate about that book. The moral people all get killed. Ned Stark and whatnot, yeah? Or the TV show, too. And, you don't need a book to tell you that bad things happen to good people. You can live in the real world and know that. But the good people don't stop fighting. And they don't fight for one side. They fight for the truth. So that's the only way. It's the only thing that'll set you free. That is doing right, not being right. Thanks for watching. Hit like, subscribe, and share. Cheers.